What's poppin', people? So, for Black History Month, what I want to do is I want to re-educate some people because there's a misconception about the term African American actually when it was used throughout history. Of course, we know about the earliest usage, and then they skip from there. Then they go to Jesse Jackson in 1980s. So what I'm going to show you is actually when it was used and how it was used throughout history. Let's go. So when you do a search on Google about the term African American, for the most part, what you're going to get is it was popularized in the 1980s by Jesse Jackson and other black leaders. So the main key here is popularized. And then when you try to look at when it was earlier used, you might find one in like the early 18th century, which is 1700s, about when it was used. But one thing people don't understand and do is actually look at the newspapers during the times and actually do a customary search. And this is what you're going to find. Now, according to that first thing I showed, it said it was popularized in the 1980s. So now, if you look on the bottom, so this is going to be a newspaper, and this is 1904. So in 1904, they talk about the Booker T. Washington event. And you see right there at the bottom, Booker T. Washington was a great and grave injustice to the African American race. Next. This is one in 1906. This talks about Bishop William Benjamin Arnett of the African American M.E. Church. Let's go to 1822. This talks about an African American colony where it tells you several free persons of color and one young black man. And this also tells you, let's see, the seat of the American colony on the African coast. So this is African American colony. 1900. This tells you about a meeting of the African American League, and it was held last night at the League's headquarters. 1900. And it says a number of whom were members of the South African American Club, which is branches in South Africa and New York, and which has contributed needed transportation money and could not be raised by subscription among New Yorkers. 1902. And this discusses the money to employ more teachers than are needed for our African American population. So I'll go over it and y'all can read that one as well. And I'm not going to make it too long. I think I'm driving my point that even though Jesse Jackson popularized the term African American, that didn't mean that he invented it or he's responsible for it, because these were all before he was born. So I'm just going to follow up with a couple good ones that I did find. 1911, election of African American delegates. And it tells you about the African American Council of San Francisco. 1912. And you can see the very top right here, right? That's what African American is. And when you go down, the league here is to be a branch of the National African American League, which is planning a great exposition to be held during the month of October. 1913. And I just skipped 1960. Look at this. So right here, the president was attending a crowded reception given in his honor by the African American Institute at Africa House, 16th and T Streets, Northwest. So I'm going to leave you with this. You can easily Google the Africa. So this says Africa America Institute. But then if you look down, it was founded in 1953. The African American Institute, predecessor organization to the Africa American Institute, and was established in 1953. So if you're one of the people that push the narrative that Jesse Jackson is responsible for the term African American, and you want to say that he's the reason for a reclass or whatever thing that y'all got cooked up, go through the newspapers and actually look at this term and see how many times it found out, or you can find it. I mean, you can even find it in the 1800s. So just wanted to put that out. So, because a lot of people fall under this misconception and saying that he is the reason behind the term, which he's not. It's always been used just like Afro-American, just like, you know, all the other terms collectively. But I just wanted to put that out. So happy Black History, and hope you learned a little something. Peace.